Investing overseas, it's a huge deal, right? You spot this incredible opportunity, maybe thousands of miles away, but there's always that nagging question. Is what you're seeing real? How do you actually separate the facts from, well, the fiction? So let's get into it. Let's talk about how you find the truth on the ground before you put your money on the line. All right, let's look at a real-world example. Say, Kenya. It's an absolutely buzzing market, just full of potential for anyone looking to invest from abroad. You've got booming sectors, think real estate, super innovative fintech, big infrastructure deals, energy. I mean, on paper, it looks like a slam dunk, right? The perfect spot to put your money and watch it grow.
But, and this is the big but, how do you really know who you're getting into business with when you're thousands of miles away? I mean, sure, you've got a pile of reports, fancy proposals, official-looking documents. But does that stuff tell you the whole story? Are you absolutely positive that the people, the property, the companies are what they say they are? This, right here, is the biggest headache for any international investor. Okay, so let's peel back the layers and talk about the stuff you can't see, because honestly, it's the unseen risks that can really come back to bite you. Underneath all that exciting opportunity, there can be some serious dangers hiding. And look, we're not just talking about the usual ups and downs of the market. We're talking about actual, deliberate deception. I mean, can you imagine finding out the directors of the company you're investing in are total frauds? Or that the land titles you thought were solid are completely forged? Yikes! And what about massive hidden debts that could literally bankrupt the entire operation? Then there's the whole issue of dealing with politically exposed persons, or PEPs. These are folks in high-up public roles, and if they're involved, it can lead to a whole world of legal and PR nightmares that you'll never find in a simple company filing. And this really nails the problem, doesn't it? Documents can be faked, official records can be wrong or out of date. The bottom line is, you have to find a way to get behind the paperwork and see what's actually happening. Think of the documents as the starting line, not the finish line. So, the big question is, how do you do that? How do you bridge that gap between paper and reality? Well, the answer is something called forensic due diligence. It sounds intense, and it is. Just think of it like an investigator's master toolkit, designed specifically to find the real truth and answer that nagging question, who am I really dealing with? Let's unpack what that actually means. The two most important words here are evidence-based and beyond public records. So this isn't about a quick Google search or just pulling a file from some registry. No way. This is an active investigation. The whole goal is to find what we call the ground truth, what's really factually happening on the ground, not just what someone wants you to see in a document. So where does an investigator start? With the people. You've got to ask, who are these directors? Who are the shareholders? And crucially, who is the real owner pulling the strings behind the scenes? An investigator's job is to verify every single identity, check their backgrounds, and make sure they aren't just frontmen for someone else. Then you move on to the assets. I mean, if you're pouring money into a property development, you better be darn sure that land title is legit, right? So this is all about tracing the ownership of the land, the buildings, whatever the key assets are, and confirming they really belong to the company and that there are no secret liens or claims against them. And finally, you have to verify the history. This means digging deep. You're looking for past lawsuits, combing through the news for any bad press, and checking for any run-ins with regulators. It's all about building a complete 360-degree view to spot any red flags that could spell trouble down the road. Because let's be honest, a clean past is just as critical as a valuable asset.
All right, so we get the what. But what about the how? How does one of these investigations actually play out? Let's walk through the process step by step. It's a lot more structured than you might think.
It really breaks down into 4 clear stages. First, it all kicks off with a confidential inquiry from you, the client. Next, the scope gets locked down, so you know exactly what's being investigated, how long it'll take, and what it'll cost. No surprises. Step 3 is the main event. Licensed investigators get to work on the ground, collecting evidence the right way, completely by the book. And in the end, you get a comprehensive, evidence-backed report. And it's not just a data dump. It gives you real, actionable advice on what to do next. Okay, we've covered the what and the how. But now, for the most important part, the why. Why go through all this trouble? What's the real payoff of knowing the ground truth? Well, just look at the difference.
On one hand, you have desk-only research. It's passive, right? You're just looking at public records, which can be old, wrong, or even faked. It gives you a tiny snapshot. But on the other hand, you have on-the-ground verification. This is active. It's about digging up hidden info, checking facts right at the source. And the difference in the result is night and day. You go from a fuzzy, limited picture to sharp, actionable intelligence that lets you make a confident, smart decision.
So, what does all that intelligence actually give you? In a word, confidence. You get a forensic report that can actually stand up in court. Everything is kept strictly confidential. The findings are completely independent. No one with a stake in the deal is influencing the outcome. And it's all done in full compliance with local laws. You're left with clear, evidence-based recommendations that are designed to do one thing: protect your investment.
So let's leave you with this final thought. We've been talking about big international investments, but you know what? This idea applies to almost everything. In any major decision you're about to make, in business or even in your personal life, it's always a good idea to just pause and ask yourself, what am I just assuming to be true here? And what's the ground truth that I might be completely missing?